Okay, let's talk about SQL operators. And before we talk about SQL operators, let's talk about what SQL is. And I'll use the words SQL and SQL interchangeably. Most people look at SQL and they go, what's SQL? SQL stands for Structured Query Language. It's used to find and retrieve data from a database. So this is how you write queries in this structured language so that the query, like a little program, will go into the database and search and find the things you want it to find and pull out the data you need for your query. What is an SQL operator? An operator, a SQL operator, is a special word or a character used primarily in a SQL statement's where clause to perform the operation. In simple terms, using an operator is how you tell the query what to search for. And here I have a sample SQL statement. And remember, this is a structured language and certain words mean certain things, and words don't always mean what they say. For example, from actually means what table I want you to go get the query from, and where actually means what I want you to find. So from is where and where is what, and so when you see these statements, they don't intuitively make sense. You have to learn, how these queries are written, and you won't spend a lot of time writing queries, but you'll spend time getting the results. And if you're not getting the results you want, you'll have to look at the query and see how it's written and see where you need to make changes. So in this sample SQL statement, I have find patient first name. So I want to search the PACS database and get patient first names. Where in the PACS database is it going to find this? It's going to find it in a table called patient underscore first underscore name. So database tables can't have any spaces in them, so people put underscores to link it all together. So I want to find patient first name. I want to search in the patient first name table in the database. What I want it to find is, the statement says where patient first name is equal to Tom. So what I should get from this query is a list of all the patients in our PACS system whose first name is Tom. It's not going to find Thomas. It's not going to find Tommy. It will only find Tom because I used the equal symbol. So the patient first name has to equal or be Tom for it to be found in our search in the database. So the equal sign in that statement is the SQL operator. Now, what are the types of SQL operators? There's actually a bunch. There's 7 different categories. We're not going to go into all of them. We're not trying to be SQL experts. The ones you're going to see and interact with are arithmetic operators, comparison operators, and logical operators. Arithmetic operators, pretty simple. Once you get that data out, you can have the query add things together, subtract them, multiply them, divide them. You find all the patients where the first name is Tom and add up their image count. So total number of images done on patients named Tom. So you use an arithmetic operator to do that. Comparison operators, these are equal to, greater than, less than. And I think arithmetic and comparison operators are pretty simple to understand, and I think when you see the symbols, you'll be like, okay, I know what these do. It's the logical operators that are going to get you. And these are the ones that are tricky, and you really have to think about it. And so we're going to go through those in a lot more detail. So logical operators, they test the truth of some condition. Examples are all, and, or, between. These are logical operators, and we'll talk about those a bunch here in a minute. Here are the arithmetic operators. Plus sign is addition, minus subtraction. You're probably very familiar with these, and they do those simple functions. I think you got that. Comparison operators, you may not know all the symbols, but you're probably familiar with equal to, greater than, less than. If you put exclamation point, it means not greater than, not equal to. So I think you've got a pretty good understanding of those, and the descriptions are pretty obvious. Now the logical operators. These are the ones that get tricky. they're a little bit more complex. And I'm not going to go through this set of descriptions. You can read it if you want, and if it helps you, great. But I'm going to give them to you in the way that Parka gives you the questions for the logical operators, because the way Parka writes it's a little tricky. So let's go through those. Which SQL logical operators are used to compare a value to all values in another set? And the way to think about this is you have a set of values and you want to find data that matches all of those values. Of course, that's going to be all. The keyword is you want all of the values from your set in your data. Which SQL logical operator allows the existence of multiple conditions in an SQL statement? And that's a tricky way to say it, but it allows the existence, meaning it has all the conditions I set. So you might write this where statement to be where patients have 5 toes and 5 fingers and 2 ears. And so obviously that's and. And the key here is they have to meet all of the multiple conditions. So we want to get patients that have 5 fingers and 5 toes and 2 ears. And that gets tricky when we get to or. Or you only have to meet one of the conditions in the statement. So if I take out the ands and replace it with or, you get a different return on your query, right? If I say where patients have 5 fingers or 5 toes or 2 ears. All right, so if you had no fingers and no toes, which I can't imagine why you would, but you had 2 ears, you would meet the or, but you wouldn't meet the and. So and or can be a little tricky. So in this question, existence of multiple conditions is the key words. Existence of multiple conditions is and. Which logical operator is used to compare the value in list according to the condition? So this is kind of like an or, but you want to find any of these conditions. So maybe you have a long list of conditions and you're looking for things that meet any of this. That's an any. Which SQL logical operator is used to search for values that are within a set? So you have a set of values or a range of values. You have maximum value, a minimum value, top and a low value. You're looking for anything that's between those values. That's going to be between. Which SQL logical operator is used to compare a value in a specified list? So you have a list of values, these values, and you're looking for anybody that's in that list. That's going to be in. So you have a predetermined list, you're looking for anything in that, and those are almost always numerical values. So which logical operator is used to combine multiple conditions in a SQL statements? So combine multiple conditions means this or that or the other thing. That's going to be or. Which SQL logical operator is used to search for the presence of a row in a specified table? So you're just looking to see if this row exists at all. Is this row present? For that, you're going to use exists. Which logical operator is used to compare a value to similar values using a wildcard operator? So a wildcard means doesn't have the exact value, but has a value that is like that value. So wildcard, think like. Does the patient have blue eyes or anything like that, such as green eyes, hazel eyes, gray eyes? So that's where you would want to use like. So another thing to take away from this is a lot of these will overlap. You can write a query with an or statement, or you can write a query with an any statement, or you can write a query with an in statement, and all three of those can be used to get the same data out. Right? You could write, give me any patient that has 5 fingers and 5 toes and 2 ears. You can, right? So now that query has to meet all of those if you write it and. Or you can write the query, give me all the patients in this list where toes equals 5, fingers equals 5, ears equals 2. So that will get you the same query as in any, but you could write it totally different. So some of these operators can overlap in the way that people will write them, and you just have to read that where statement and think about how the computer's going to search for those things and what it's going to bring back. And I'm sorry I couldn't do this in like a 2-minute video. This got really long, but thank you for watching.